Welcome to NTD News. I'm Tiffany Meyer. Here are today's top stories. The next battle is just around the corner for the Democratic presidential contenders. Biden and Sanders will face off tomorrow in what could be a defining moment in their race. The global stock market is in chaos, bringing some indexes to their worst levels since the global financial crash of 2008. A Princess cruise ship docks in California with the coronavirus on board. The State Department warns people with underlying health conditions to stay away from vacations on cruises. And drastic measures taken in Italy's wealthiest area to try to control the spread of the virus. Several regions under lockdown until next month. Tomorrow might be a landmark moment in the 2020 presidential campaign. Democratic presidential candidates Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders are facing off on Super Tuesday 2.
It'll be like deja vu all over again, but not quite as big. On Super Tuesday 2, contests will be held in Washington State, Idaho, North Dakota, Missouri, Mississippi, and most importantly, Michigan, with its 125 delegates. Democratic presidential candidates Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders spent the weekend stumping.
We're building a coalition. We're building a coalition that most successful presidents of our lifetime, Barack Obama, had started.
Change never takes place from the top on down, always from the bottom on up.
Each candidate received a big endorsement. California Senator Kamala Harris is backing Biden.
We need a leader who really does care about the people and who can therefore unify the people. And I believe Joe can do that.
While the Reverend Jesse Jackson is supporting Sanders.
I talk these days about democratic socialism. What does all that mean? The opposite word is democracy, all for and by the people.
Biden has a delegate lead over Sanders thanks to his dominant performance on the first Super Tuesday.
This is not an election just for the soul of the Democratic Party. It's a battle for America's soul.
Sanders, meanwhile, is still awaiting Super Tuesday results from delegate-rich California, where he is leading in a slow count and focusing on Michigan, a state he narrowly won in 2016.
President Trump, meanwhile, has already collected 833 delegates for the Republican nomination. His long-shot challenger, former Governor Bill Weld, has gathered a single delegate. And in other news, as oil prices crash, the global stock market is feeling the aftershock. Already reflecting panic over the coronavirus, the indexes in the UK and Australia experienced their worst days since the 2008 global financial crisis.
Global stock markets plunged following a one-day crash in oil prices, and panic over the coronavirus has hit the stock exchange. S&P 500 futures plunged almost 7%. The Dow fell more than 1,800 points, or about 7.1%. NASDAQ was also down 7.1%. Over in the Asia-Pacific region, the sell-off continues. Australia's S&P ASX 200 ended 7.3% lower on Monday. Japan's Nikkei 225 sank 5.1%, and Hong Kong's Hang Seng lost 4.2%, while China's Shanghai Composite lost 3%. And things are no better in Europe. The FTSE 100 has plunged 8.5%, the worst it's been since the global financial crisis in October 2008. Germany's DAX is down 7.4%, and Italy's benchmark index fell 7.1%. Shares of oil company BP also crashed 20%. A chief market strategist described the panic as complete pandemonium.
Oil fell by the most since 1991 today after Saudi Arabia started a price war with Russia. It slashed its selling prices, pledging to unleash its pent-up supply onto a market reeling from falling demand due to the coronavirus outbreak.
Oil prices crashed on Monday after Saudi Arabia kicked off a price war with Russia. The free fall threw financial markets into chaos. Massive discounts from Saudi saw oil prices collapse by as much as 30%, the biggest percentage drop since 1991 at the start of the Gulf War. On Sunday, Saudi slashed its export prices and pledged to unleash its pent-up supply of oil onto the financial markets. It's attempting to punish Russia after OPEC failed to agree on cuts to oil production last Friday. It would have been an attempt to fight prices falling from shock over the coronavirus. Now, Saudi Arabia seems to have shifted gears. If it can't bump up the price, it's going to push it down. The outcome to all of this has sent the US dollar crashing. S&P futures fell 5% before hitting a limit, and Asian stock markets opened sharply down on Monday. A sell-off saw Japan's Nikkei fall as low as 5%, and Australia's commodity-heavy market fell 6% at the open. Saudi's discounts will likely mean lower prices at the gas pump for US drivers. But there are worries that US oil producers carrying a lot of debt could be squeezed by the plummeting prices.
Older Americans and those with underlying health problems are warned to stay off cruise ships, according to the country's top infectious disease expert. He says if you belong to this group, you should also avoid long flights and large gatherings. Docking in Oakland, California today, a cruise ship with 21 people with the coronavirus who will be transferred straight into quarantine.
Another cruise ship under lockdown, 21 cases of coronavirus on board. Passengers aboard the Grand Princess recorded their quarters over the weekend, giving a snapshot of what appeared to be comfortable conditions. This couple took the cruise to celebrate their wedding anniversary. The ship, carrying more than 3,500 people from 54 countries, expected to dock Monday in Oakland, California. The state's governor, Gavin Newsom, said the port of Oakland was chosen because of its proximity to an airport and a military base. He added that it could take up to 3 days to prepare the port site and get everyone off. The crew will be quarantined and treated aboard the ship, which will dock elsewhere. Everyone on the ship will undergo testing and be quarantined as needed. The city's mayor said on Sunday no passengers will be released or quarantined in Oakland. Meanwhile, the CDC posted advice to travelers with underlying health conditions, particularly the elderly. It states there is an increased risk of infection on cruise ships. It also recommends avoiding crowded places and non-essential travel such as long plane trips.
And passengers on another cruise ship feared to have the virus on board have been cleared. 2 crew members who transferred from the Grand Princess 2 weeks ago tested negative. Authorities allowed the ship to dock in Florida last night. And in related news, 2 lawmakers are staying at home this week after contact with a coronavirus patient. They say their self-quarantine comes out of an abundance of caution. Senator Ted Cruz said he had a brief conversation and shook the hand of a person who later tested positive for the virus. Congressman Paul Gosar says he also interacted with the same person. The lawmakers met the unnamed person at the Conservative Political Action Conference last month. Gosar said 3 of his senior staff members will also self-quarantine. Both say they are not experiencing symptoms but are undergoing quarantine just to be on the safe side. And U.S. airlines are also upping their guard against the spread of the coronavirus. They are trying to cut down on person-to-person contamination on airplanes, as well as wine and water refills to help prevent passengers from touching serving trays and food baskets. Instead of bringing wine or water bottles into the aisles for refills, United Airlines flight attendants will now provide a brand new cup or glass. Airlines worldwide are facing a steep drop in travel demand. To help combat it, some are offering passengers free cancellation or rebooking and working to calm fears about cabin cleanliness and air circulation. Planes are also getting thorough scrub downs. Even surfaces like ceilings and overhead bins are getting washed. Some airlines say they have brought in disease experts to teach crew members, while United says its flight attendants may now wear gloves as an extra precaution. And Japan's main government spokesperson said the latest projectile launch by North Korea threatens the peace and security of Japan and the region. This is the second round of ballistic missiles in a week.
While the world scrambles to stop the spread of the coronavirus, North Korea has upped the ante in the sidelines and fired off its second round of ballistic missiles in a week on Monday. The South Korean military says the missiles flew up to 125 miles before landing in the sea. Japan's main government spokesperson Yoshihide Suga said Monday's launches appeared to be ballistic missiles.
This act threatens the peace and security of Japan and the region, and the actions, including repeated launches of ballistic missiles in the past, are a serious issue for the international community as a whole.
South Korea's military says Monday's launch was the latest test in a new series of drills personally overseen by Pyongyang's leader Kim Jong-un. Both involved a multiple launch rocket system and ended a 3-month pause in missile testing. Pyongyang has been under UN sanctions since 2006 over its missile and nuclear program. Last week, the United Nations Security Council met behind closed doors and condemned the North Korean missile launches as provocative action in violation of the UN resolutions.
Shen Yun Performing Arts is reaching its 3rd month on stage this season. On its tour, it has received praise from audiences all around the globe. NTD reporter Shi-Wen Rong has more.
It touched my heart and my soul.
Thundering applause resounding through the theater, no matter where Shen Yun goes.
Yes, it's outstanding. The athleticism and the elegance of the dancers is just incredible.
Leslie Bell is a dancer and a choreographer. She watched Shen Yun with her daughter on March 6th in Sydney, Australia.
Such precision in their dancing and the patterns that they make and the costumes. It's very inspiring, actually, as a choreographer to watch it.
You have to experience it. It is a feeling. It's a feeling you have to feel.
Didier Peter is the owner of André Mouche, a Swiss watchmaker. He said he received inspiration from the performance for his designs.
It's just amazing. These colors, this decor, this artistic side, this traditional art side. It really amazed us, and also we saw a link with our watches. Our ladies' watches that have a lot of art and designs. It gave us lots of ideas.
It was uplifting. I don't remember the name of the instrument that the lady was playing, the 2-string instrument. It put chills on my body. And that's very unusual for me. So to see that and to see how much it was touching the actors, that in and of itself was enough to make me feel what was going on.
David Haviland said he has been all over the world and has seen many shows, but Shen Yun is unique.
And I believe that their message is, we all started out the same way. We should treat each other with love and respect. If I had known earlier, I'd have been coming to all your shows because I truly believe in my heart that these folks here are trying to get everyone around the world to understand that we're all together in this.
Reporting by Shi-Wen Rong, NTD News.
Coming up, leaked government documents show that local authorities in China are pushing companies to go back to work, even though there is a serious shortage of face masks and an increased risk of infection. Learn more about what that means for companies after the break.
Viewers have described China Uncensored like The Daily Show, but about China.
In China, something can be illegal, but still in common practice. For example, bribery, or intellectual property theft, or Uber.
At the beginning, I was super excited when I got 500 views, and now the show's grown to about 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. One episode reached 7.9 million people and counting. I'm a little freaked out that many people have seen my face. Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? It's starring me.
It's more and more obvious that China is having a major influence on the U.S.
Hey, have you heard of China Uncensored? 中国揭秘. In 5 years, I see China Uncensored as the only show on TV or the internet. It will be the sole source of edutainment worldwide. Have you heard of China Uncensored?
Yeah, I have.
You actually have? He's heard of China Uncensored.
I love China Uncensored.
A hotel in China used for coronavirus quarantine collapsed on Saturday, killing 11 people with more left trapped. 21 people are missing.
More than 70 people were believed to be inside the 7-story building in the city of Quanzhou when it collapsed on Saturday morning. Dozens have been rescued, but others remain trapped. More than 21 are still missing. 11 people have died. The cause of the collapse is not yet known, but according to a local news report, the collapsed hotel had been renovated by the new owner, who converted the 4-floor building to 7 floors. A local resident told an NTD reporter that the hotel used to be a shopping center.
This is the kind of project that's as flimsy and porous as tofu dregs. Before it was converted into a hotel, several floors were empty. During the conversion process, they were installing windows and separating some space into several rooms. Many problems occurred, such as the windows being squeezed and some shattered multiple times. Some doors were also deformed, but they opened the hotel anyway. In China, as long as you can pull some strings and you pay some money, there is nothing you can't do.
Another resident said the hotel was not located in a safe place for use as quarantine.
Most of the hotels and businesses are not allowed to operate recently, yet this hotel was allowed to be used for quarantine in a residential district, which is extremely inappropriate.
According to local news, the owner of the building was summoned by the police.
Internal documents from China reveal a shortage of face masks and a high risk of infection. Local Chinese authorities are still pushing companies to go back to work amid the coronavirus outbreak. NTD's Juliet Song has the details.
Leaked documents show a city district in China pushing companies to get back to work despite a shortage of face masks and high risk of cross-infection. The document is a work report on the number of local companies resuming operations and the difficulty of meeting their needs for protective gear. It is drafted by the local Communist Party's Committee of Quancheng, a district with a population of over 680,000 in the city of Changchun in northeast China. All local industries, except those in restaurants and construction sites, are required to reopen by the end of February, the document says. By February 25th, over 60% of medium to large-scale companies in Quancheng had resumed operations. Companies of this scale employ hundreds to tens of thousands of people and have annual revenues of at least $280,000. The document says that as more industries go back to work, demands for protective gear are surging, and the local government is struggling to meet companies' daily needs. It says local governments supplied 3,500 face masks for local enterprises that would prove to even barely fill a large company's needs for a day. It's also difficult to secure face masks independently. And the gap between supply and demand is huge. An internal document from Changchun's Healthcare Security Bureau shows on February 17th, city officials released 10,000 masks, but there was demand for over 1 million on the same day. Chinese authorities insist there have been no new infections in Changchun since February 17th. Without enough face masks, there's greater risk of infection. Despite the challenge of securing face mask supplies, the document says the city aims to get all companies to get back to work, a risky move at this time. Earlier this month, a worker in Anhui province was found to be infected with the coronavirus after going back to work. The company was then shut down, and over 170 close contacts were put in quarantine. Chinese media reported similar cases in other provinces. Reporting by Juliet Song, NTD News, New York.
Despite the coronavirus raging just across the border in mainland China, Hong Kong's pro-democracy protesters gathered to mark the death of college student Alex Chow last night.
Hundreds of mourners held a vigil in Hong Kong last night to mark the death of Alex Chow. He died during a pro-democracy protest in November 2019 after falling one story from a parking lot.
They are here in memory of the person who died, the young man who died in the protest.
On the night of his fall, Chow was protesting against a proposal that would have allowed anyone in Hong Kong to be extradited to mainland China and alleged police brutality against the protesters. He fell just after police fired tear gas and died 4 days later from head injuries. There was a large police presence at last night's vigil. Soon after the mourners arrived, police told them to leave, calling it an illegal assembly. Many defied the request and instead sang songs and chanted slogans.
A large group of police just rushed into the crowd.
Police then cordoned attendees in and wouldn't let them leave. They then began searching people and checking IDs. Some were arrested.
And then using force, unnecessary force.
The event marks almost 1 year of tense standoffs between police and protesters.
Coming up, Germany taking strong action today to save Europe's largest economy from the effects of the coronavirus. Authorities say they are already feeling the heat as the global economy slows. See the actions they're taking and more after the break.
When you look at TV networks in America, a soundbite and bite-it-out culture prevails on news and commentary programs. As a Canadian, I'm fascinated with America, and I wanted to offer American thought leaders an opportunity to share their thoughts in a deep dive format where we can explore their ideas together. And so American Thought Leaders was born. The world's most brilliant thinkers believed that open discourse was the key to greatness. However, all around the world, we see that discourse is being stifled and political agendas have subverted media. The Epoch Times launched its Global Thought Leaders program to bring back this great tradition of free thought. As the host of American Thought Leaders, every week I interview some of the most intriguing minds on the most pressing issues of our time. Be sure to check out our new episodes every week.
The Italian government introducing dramatic measures quarantining 16 million people in the country's north after its biggest one-day spike in coronavirus cases.
An eerie stillness settled over Italy's wealthy north on Sunday after the government effectively quarantined 16 million people in a bid to contain the rapidly growing coronavirus outbreak. The country is Europe's hardest hit, and on Saturday reported that the number of cases had leapt by over 1,200 in a 24-hour period, its biggest daily increase since the epidemic began in Italy 2 weeks ago. In response, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte signed unprecedented restrictions into law overnight. He announced that people should now not enter or leave Lombardy, Italy's richest region, including the financial center Milan, as well as 14 provinces in 4 other regions, including the cities of Venice, Modena, and Parma, among others. All museums, gyms, cultural centers, ski resorts, and swimming pools will be closed, and leave for health workers was canceled as Italian hospitals sag under the pressure of the virus. Restaurants and bars will be allowed to open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., but they must guarantee that customers are at least 1 meter apart. The coronavirus has killed more than 360 people in Italy, and the northern regions of Lombardy, Emilia-Romagna, and Veneto represent 92% of recorded deaths and 85% of all cases. The measures will stay in force until April 3rd.
And now turning to Germany, which has decided on a stimulus package to stave off economic fallout from the coronavirus. The German government is also taking other measures to help affected companies. And just in, the first 2 people in Germany have been lost to the coronavirus. NTD's Germany correspondent Christian Watson has more on this.
Germany decided to give a boost to its economy on Monday amid concerns over fallout from the coronavirus epidemic. The coalition government agreed to invest an additional $14 billion through 2024. It also decided to loosen rules for financial aid to firms that are forced to stop work temporarily. This would help companies like the country's largest airline, Lufthansa. The company said last week it will cut 50% of its flights.
Yesterday's coalition meeting was a strong signal that we will not allow the virus to infect the German economy.
Confirmed coronavirus cases in Germany as of Monday stand at 1,112. While Germany doesn't have as many infections as Italy or France, its economy is one of the most dependent on international trade. Germany's car industry is especially affected, as many Chinese consumers have stopped buying new cars. Exports to China fell by almost 7% in January. Germany's health minister on Sunday recommended canceling events with over 1,000 attendees. Several large trade fairs have been canceled. Domestic businesses hit by the outbreak include hotels and transport companies. Germany's finance minister on Monday said it's not clear whether the epidemic poses a longer-term economic challenge. So observers don't know whether these measures will be sufficient to fend off a recession. Reporting by Christian Watson, NTD News, Berlin.
And in lighter news, a family in Australia is sitting on a massive hoard of toilet paper after they accidentally ordered a 12-year supply. Lucky for their neighbors, they're planning to sell some of it, as some stores are seeing empty shelves amid coronavirus panic buying.
You may have seen reports of panic buying for certain things at stores as the coronavirus outbreak spreads. Masks, hand sanitizers, toilet paper too. In Japan, toilet paper is being chained to the wall in public restrooms. Hong Kong saw an armed robbery for it. In Australia, grocers are only allowing 1 pack per person. Why else would news of a truck full of toilet paper catching fire there make international headlines?
Hey everyone, we've had an exciting day at our place today.
And in a land with no TP, this family, also from Australia, would be king.
Pallets of boxes of toilet paper. That's right.
The Janetskis meant to buy 48 rolls of toilet paper on the internet. Instead, they accidentally bought 48 boxes. They did the math and they believe they're now sitting on a 12-year supply of the stuff.
We think that we are royalty now. Check out our throne for our toilet paper queen.
Lucky for their neighbors, the toilet overlords promise to be generous. They won't sit on their hoard, but plan to sell some off as a fundraiser.
Coming up, catch a glimpse of Pixar's new smash hit, Onward. Hear about this week's box office top 5 and more when we return.
Our investigative reporters at the Epoch Times have spent 18 months uncovering the biggest political scandal in modern history. We connected the dots around Spygate, the actions by Obama-era officials against Trump's 2016 presidential campaign. Join me on Declassified as we bring you up-to-date developments on this unfolding scandal.
We are being censored. America's news outlets no longer provide the truth. 90% of news outlets in the United States are controlled by 6 corporations. They're not out to tell you the truth of what's happening. They're out to tell you the picture of the world that they represent. The mission of the Epoch Times is to chase the truth, to ground all statements in facts, and prevent people from being misled. The Epoch Times is independent. We're not controlled by any special interests, and we never will be. The Epoch Times is a non-partisan media. That means we don't stand for any political party. This is a battle between truth and deceit, a battle between forces that would ensnare this country in ignorance, and between a media that wants to present you with the truth. Subscribe today and join the Americans who are seeking truth and tradition. We'd love to have you on board.
Get ready for a spectacular view from our lunar neighbor. A true full moon will light up the sky Monday. It's also known as a full worm moon. Supermoons happen when the moon is at its closest approach to Earth in orbit. The moon will seem bigger and brighter at night. The phenomenon happens Monday night, but it will appear full through early Wednesday. Not even the coronavirus, let alone the competition, could keep Pixar's new movie from soaring at the box office.
Harrison Ford and The Call of the Wild fell to 5th place on ticket sales of $7 million. $8 million gave Sonic the Hedgehog 4th place and a domestic total of $141 million.
Look, we're not going to make it all back in one possession.
The Way Back, starring Ben Affleck, opened in 3rd place. The inspirational drama made $8.5 million.
He has figured out a way to be invisible.
After one weekend on top, The Invisible Man fell to 2nd place, taking in $15.2 million.
Hey, you can do this.
Onward, the latest animated adventure from Pixar, easily debuted atop the box office, opening with $40 million.
And that's the latest updates for now. Thanks for tuning in. Catch up again at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Tiffany Meyer.